Ta-da! Okay, everyone, welcome. I'm so super glad to have you all out to this fireside chat. This is all part of a group called Naturally Strong, and every month we pick a topic. And this month's topic is mental health and just nourishing our mental health. And I was telling Nikki about it, and she decided that she was like, "Oh my God, I'm doing something new. You have to let me come and talk." And I thought, well, Nicole would be a great presenter. And so here's some really cool things about Nicole that you're going to want to know before she speaks to you. When I met Nicole, she already had some really cool things going on for her. She's a behavioral health specialist and a yoga instructor. She also is a meditation instructor, and she's certified as a fitness professional as well. So she's got like this beautiful combination of all of these different aspects of health that she nourishes for people. And she's actually been working for over 2 decades with mental health, emotional health, physical health, social health, and spiritual health. And since I've known her in the last few years, it's been really exciting to watch her actually create her company, which is called Retreat into Life. So she's the creator and director of all kinds of fun outings, and that all is called Retreat into Life. And I've been on a few of them. I had the pleasure to go to West Yellowstone with her and also to Havasu Pie with her. And I can just tell you that when you are in Nikki's presence, everything that she does is inspiring. You can't spend an hour with her and not feel like you want to do better in your own life and be a better person, because that's one of her gifts and her strengths. That's who she is. So I'm really, really pleased to have her speak to us tonight. Most recently, she has added to her long repertoire of all the cool stuff that she does, hypnotherapy. And so that's why she wanted to get on this call tonight, so she could tell everyone about the benefits that she sees in hypnotherapy since she started practicing. So I'm really excited to have Nikki join us. Nikki, are you ready?
Yes, I've got things stacked up and the phone balanced. So can everybody see me okay? Does this work?
Okay, we're switching views to Nikki. Take it away, my girlfriend.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if the audio is all right. Just as we get started. Okay, thank you so much. I apologize that we had this little adventure at the start of this class tonight. We did get on and check and make sure that the tech was working, but this just sometimes happens. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I'm super excited to be here with you all. And unfortunately, on my phone, I can't tell who's on, and I can't tell what messages are coming in. There might be a way, but I think it hides the view. And so, Rebecca, if there's any questions, I want to encourage that individuals participate. Please go ahead and send them in the chat. And then you can feel free to let me know, Rebecca. I'll pause at certain times and just check with you and see if we've received anything in the chat, if that's okay. So we'll just make this work. And thank you for the intro, Rebecca. I love you to pieces, and I think we have an amazing healing community, and each of us is part of this healing community. Each of us has the amazing ability to heal, and the self-healing process is part of, I can't really separate it, but it's part of the healing that we do. We heal ourselves, and we all have the ability to give healing to others. And so what is this connection between meditation, yoga, physical wellness, hypnosis? Initially, that might just seem like a random collection of a whole bunch of different things, and how does this all tie together? And so I want to let you all know that it ties together very well, and that many of the healing modalities or methods that you're probably familiar with will have a different light, I hope, after our I want to say our little chat. I feel like we're talking together. It'll have a different light and hopefully make more sense as far as, okay, I understand why this would work for me, or why it has been working for me. So let's talk about hypnosis for a second. And I'm curious, when you hear the word hypnosis, what that might bring to your mind. And it could be positive, it could be negative, it could be neutral, it could be curious. And so if any of you would like to send a message, just a couple words or a sentence to Rebecca, when you hear the word hypnosis, what that means to you, I think that would be a great start to our dialogue, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding or maybe lack of information as far as hypnosis and what that might mean and what its purposes are. So have we received some thoughts about what hypnosis is?
No, but I'll lead with my husband's first thought, and that was, like, is she going to take over your brain and make you squawk like a chicken?
I mean, come on. That's something that probably several of you are thinking.
Absolutely.
You know, in college stage hypnosis, running around and being silly. Of course, the classic chicken example, mind control. That might be another thing that some of you are thinking of, is this person comes and they control my mind. Are any of these things? That is the main thought. Yeah, there we go. We had just a genuine remark. It's true. Any other thoughts before we get going about what hypnosis is? Oh, I'm actually seeing some of these messages. Hello.
So Lori says that Freud and Charcot, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, they used hypnosis, and Lori sends students that need with test anxiety to a local hypnotherapist. So it must be helpful for test anxiety.
Okay.
I believe it's one of the best for test anxiety.
Holy smokes, I need it. I just took a CLEP test and barely passed because I was so freaking out about time.
That's my personal opinion, of course.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think that maybe there's a few people, at least, that aren't aware that hypnosis could be used for test taking or public speaking or different physical health conditions. And so I'm going to be FDA aware with my wording and say that people have come with symptoms and found hypnotherapy to be very effective. Any of you heard of hypnobirthing?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if that's like falls under the same umbrella of what you're going to teach us.
Absolutely. So hypnobirthing, pain control, which is, again, I will say discomfort. We won't use the word pain, but managing discomforts in your body. Hypnosis has been found to be useful for that. I've also used it in my personal life for pain control or discomfort control. Any other experiences with hypnotherapy? PTSD? Yes. So think of your mind body and how everything is so connected. And a good way to think about it would be anything that is impacted by the emotional well-being can potentially be dramatically impacted, changed, altered, diminished, increased through hypnotherapy. So first of all, I want to say that you all experience hypnosis all the time. This is not some strange phenomena where it's a rare occurrence, or, you know, you hear the phrase, I can't be hypnotized, or, you know, I wouldn't know how to do that. We all go through hypnosis on a daily basis. And the reason why I can say this is because you all are awake and you all go to sleep. If you're not sleeping, then at least you could argue for that time. Maybe you're not experiencing all the levels. So a simple way to think about hypnosis is that it is the levels of consciousness that exist between being awake and asleep. That simple. And nowadays, there's probably more individuals in need of dehypnosis or dehypnotizing than hypnotizing. And I would say that those two processes actually go together. So we've got these different levels between being awake and asleep. So hopefully that sounds a little bit less scary and a little bit less mind domineering. And while we're talking about mind control, I will say that when you experience hypnosis, you will not do anything that you do not want to do. So you are still in control of your mind, always. Whether you're doing self-hypnosis, whether you, if there's an issue that you want to have a little bit of a deeper look at, and you come and talk to me, it is very much a self-led process. And so there's nothing that I'm doing to make anyone do anything, and it's all about progression and what this person would like to bring into their lives. So again, it's a normal process. It's actually something that has been used in all kinds of healing, bedwetting. I'm trying to think of, just different random ones, addiction, etc., weight loss. So it's been used for a very long time. In fact, the word hypno comes from the Greek word sleep, and they had sleep temples. I don't want to go too back into the history of hypnotherapy for the purposes of today, because I want to focus on the things that you guys can do to be bringing what you would like into your mind. Another way to think of hypnosis, so we'll just leave that train alone. Let me finish that thought. We'll leave that one alone, but just know that it's existed for a very long time as far as with regards to healing. And another way that you could think of hypnosis is programming. So it's the programming that exists in your mind. And so already we have certain thoughts and beliefs that exist, and sometimes these have existed for a very long time. In fact, what you'll find in hypnosis is that many of the predominant thought beliefs, so I want you to think about that word, predominant thought beliefs. These are the ones that tend to influence what we do, they influence behavior, are some of the ones that we have established at very, very young ages. Sometimes as young as 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. Of course, we're learning things and expanding and increasing awareness and learning all the time in our lives. And so, again, this is something that's normal. It happens all the time. It's an ongoing process, and there's nothing scary about it. And what I hope that you all get from this is that we have so much ability and power to guide not only in our bodies, but in our minds. And so I think that that's the place where sometimes individuals, in the work that I've done, behavioral work, working with children, working with adults, where they really feel like their headspace is the place where they struggle. People that want to lose weight, many of them have enough education to know what to do to lose weight. But the struggle is, again, there's something going on between what I'm saying that I want, what I'm saying that I value, and then what's actually occurring. And so maybe some of you can relate. Maybe it's not weight loss, but is there this sense of double-mindedness where I almost feel like I'm struggling with myself? There's things that I want. Maybe I even feel directed to my purpose, my passion, and yet I'm fighting in some way my own mind. So out of curiosity, if any of you want to comment or say anything, if you can relate to any aspects of your life where you feel this incongruency. And I find that it tends to be a pretty normal thing. And I would suggest then that there are some predominant beliefs, so some leading beliefs in the subconscious mind that are conflicting with what the conscious mind is wanting to bring about. And so I have kind of a framework for you all that I want to put out there and give you to consider. So let's talk a little bit about the different levels of hypnosis. How many of you guys have gotten into your car and you're driving to work or you're driving to the store and you arrive at the store and you really remember very little about the drive? And you are back in your thoughts and in the back of your head. How many of you have had that experience? Or you're in class, or maybe you're at home, or you're at work, and somebody's talking to you, the teacher's talking, giving instructions, and you realize, oh, I have no idea what they just said. Of course, I'm sure that
Yeah, totally.
that we can relate to this. This happens. So when you're noticing, I'm not in my conscious mind, you are, in other words, all the above. Yes! I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm just kidding. So when we move into these different states of awareness or states of consciousness, we are in different levels of trance. I said it. The meeting no longer has a time limit. You're in different levels of trance. So one of the levels of trance, and we're not going to go through all of them, but just to give you a little bit more of an understanding of how you might be experiencing this, is waking hypnosis. So in waking hypnosis, you could be daydreaming. You're off in your imagination, and so you're not in your most conscious, aware, present mind. That is considered a level of trance, and of course it's closer to being awake. Another level of trance that's a little bit deeper would be meditation. Yes. So actually meditation in and of itself, there's a different awareness. A lot of times in meditation, you have a very singular focus, and that again is different than when you're just in your conscious mind, which, you know, in my opinion, this is why a lot of the world is saying, hey, mindfulness, meditation, these are powerful practices. They're impacting the mind. When you're in trance, you're actually accessing different levels of suggestibility. And I will say that different strategies work at different levels of trance to be able to program your minds. But maybe you've experienced deep breathing when you've slowed down and you've accessed your breath, and whether you meditate or you're just kind of taking some space, you can feel a shift in your body. And it's as simple as that. The deeper you go, then there's more access to subconscious thought. Everything that you have ever lived and experienced in your life is recorded in the brain. And I think this is kind of regarded as common knowledge, generally accepted, that everything that we've experienced, we've experienced, and whether we remember it, the mind does, the mind and body does. And we see some of this in phobias and you know, different things along those lines. a child got bit by a white dog and grows up just fearing, you know, it could be dogs, but it could also generalize to animals, etc. So again, I just lost my train of thought, went off into my own daydream. So yes.
Generally recognized by most people that the brain remembers everything. That's what you just said.
Yes, absolutely. And that it's there. And so the purpose of trance and the power behind it really is that we have more and more access to the subconscious, and we can begin a dialogue between the subconscious and the conscious mind. So just to give a general understanding, and we can come back to some of these predominant beliefs that maybe have been ruling and reigning without us really knowing, and, you know, living our lives just like we might jump in the car and arrive places without really being conscious, really considering, you know, what's going on, and really utilizing the power that we have to program our minds. So programs can just happen, or we can create them. How are we doing on thoughts or questions so far? I can't hear Rebecca. I think your mic's on.
I mean, we haven't had more than you've seen come through.
Okay, awesome, great. So it does let me know then. This is perfect. All right, so
comment, you should be able to see it.
Okay, perfect. So the power is in the conscious thought, and again, this is something that is pretty common across many different modalities: meditation, yoga, Buddhism, etc. Many beliefs that there's power in the conscious mind. And so the first thing that you can do for yourself is conscious thinking. Sometimes, and again, I see this so frequently in the work that I do, thoughts are there in our head, and somehow they're taken as ultimate truth. This thought, that person doesn't like me, a simple thought that pops into the head. And so because the thought's there, I was going to show this sheet, but I'll just describe it. There's another accepted model for behavior that begins with a thought. We have a thought, and then the thought leads to an emotion. So I have a thought, that person doesn't like me because I smile at them and they didn't smile back. They don't like me. So the emotion might be rejection. So we're moving from the thought first to the emotion, rejection. And so then the behavior emerges. I turn away, I walk away. Maybe somebody else passes me in the hall and I avert my eyes. So we have the behaviors being impacted by emotions and thoughts. Have you ever had an emotion and not known why you have it, and yet you're feeling it? There's this emotion. And so again, the access to the thoughts is the key of trance. And sometimes it is extremely helpful to have a person, somebody there to facilitate, to go back and access thoughts and access beliefs. So in hypnosis, the part that we're going to focus on today in what I'm sharing is really allowing yourself to bring the good into your mind, that which you want, that which you desire. And what I love about it is my main platform has always been intentional living. So I would like to take mindfulness one step further. Mindfulness is a lot about beautiful awareness of what is, and I love these practices. They are so powerful. But even within the practices, I would say to myself, this is what is, but what about creation? What about what I bring in? And what if I bring in things to be mindful about it? What if I choose what I'm going to be mindful about? And so you have, vision boards and things like that, affirmations that people do. And this is why they're doing it, or why it works, because they are choosing what they're going to be mindful and conscious about. They're looking at the images that they want to see. They're saying the affirmations that they want to hear. And so it's a mindfulness that's empowered, that has a direction and allows you to lead in the programming of the mind. Any thoughts or questions on that so far? And I invite, when I take these pauses, I invite you to send any messages through as well. And if not, then we'll just continue. But I really do want to encourage any questions that come up, we can address them for this group within our time allotment. And if you can let me know when we're about 10 minutes from finishing, Rebecca. My clock is my phone, which is being used on the call.
All right.
So, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
About 25 minutes until I was planning to be finished. So you're good. You're that good. You can stop early if you want, but we have about 25 minutes.
Okay. Are we having fun yet? I really love this stuff. I really do. And so let's go back to the model that talks about our thought processes and our emotions and then our behaviors. When we find ourselves, again, feeling emotions and we're not quite sure where this is coming from, again, we can attribute it to the subconscious. And behaviors, this is the interesting thing about behaviors. They don't always come out in, I avert my eyes and I walk the other way down the hall. That would be one type of behavior. But sometimes a behavior is a sick feeling in the stomach, or a headache, or lockjaw, or irritable bowel. There, in hypnosis, there's a strong belief that there's a direct connection between our thoughts and the energy that's in those thoughts. So thoughts are frequencies going through the brain that are affecting our immune system in irritable bowel. And so have I seen cases where individuals with irritable bowel have seen drastic changes in their life, or even individuals return to a normal diet after being restricted for decades? Yes. And one interesting story was about an individual that had TMJ, so her jaw was extremely, extremely tight. And she wasn't quite sure what was going on with that. Literally came into session and I'm having this really tight jaw. I don't know why. I've had it for a while. It's painful and bothers me. And so we explored. And again, the hypnotherapist is not the person that says, this is why this is happening in your life, because the person has the answers. And so what happened is, through the facilitation of trance, this will hopefully help clarify how this process works. She was able to access a memory when she was about 3 years old. And she was with family members in the living room. And sometimes 3-year-olds say silly things. And so she said something. She doesn't even remember exactly what she said, but she remembers when she spoke, everybody started laughing in the room. And she remembered feeling embarrassed, feeling dumb, feeling like her words didn't have value, basically. This was the 3-year-old's interpretation of adults laughing at some silly words. And she hid under a blanket. And what happened was she made a connection of memories that had happened for the next couple of decades, where people would ask her questions and she would freeze because she was afraid of how people would respond, or that they wouldn't value her opinion. And so people would speak for her, they would talk over her, and this behavior continued to the point that, again, she wasn't aware that the connection in her jaw was actually associated with feeling like people didn't value her words, like she didn't have a voice. And so when she finally made the connection, oftentimes there's an emotional release. And, you know, after her emotional release, it was just kind of, you know, she was happy and sad. She was sorrowful that, oh my word, you know, this was impacting my life, but also coming to a realization of her power. And immediately after that session, her jaw was moving differently. She had a reduction in pain. How far can you go back? What age? This is a really good question. You know, the mind will go where it's ready to go. So it's like layers of an onion. And some people begin working with situations that are actually, you know, maybe it's just a couple years back, or it could be 6 months ago. And that's where the mind goes. So in the session, it's facilitated so that the subconscious leads, and depending on what the person is ready to release and work on, that is where they'll go. There was a session yesterday, actually, and this teenage gal went back to age 2 years old. There are some cases where, this might sound out there or not, but I will go ahead and put it out there, a few cases where people have actually had experiences that go back to the womb. There was a woman that her parents were fighting back and forth and speaking about how the baby wasn't planned. And so anyway, she had a memory of hearing mom, dad having this disagreement, and had these strong feelings of being unloved, being uncared about. And it was interesting that that's what it traced back to, was little baby in the womb, mom and dad fighting, stressed out, money, you know, issues and things like that. So anyway, she was able to work through that and resolve that. I'm trying to think of another case that I might share, but individuals with lower back pain, what do you think about self-hypnosis? And would you divide? I didn't catch that whole comment. If you can go ahead and let me know what that was, Rebecca.
Yeah. So what do you think about self-hypnosis, and and would you divide people to those who can be hypnotized and those who resist? So is there like a group that?
So everybody can choose to access memories or refuse them. Anybody can, and you will not make anybody do anything. It is 100% their choice. And so an individual that comes in for smoking, the average amount of sessions of hypnosis, it will vary. This is just an average, but to give you an idea, because I've worked in mental health for a very, very long time, and I am a person that likes to do things in the most efficient way. If there is a direct route, then that's what I want for people. And so I definitely think that all modalities work together. I wouldn't put any, any modality down. When I bring the Fuel and Flow Fest together, it's all kinds of healing. But I will say that our predominant beliefs are so powerful that they can reject everything else. They can keep us right where we're at, or they can push us ahead. And so the average number of sessions is about 6. And I will say that for my own, in my own family, my daughter, I don't want to get too personal into her stuff, has had years and years of therapy for different challenges and issues that she's faced. And the most dramatic changes that we have seen in her life, it's been so powerful, has been through this process of hypnosis. So in handful of sessions, it doesn't take long to begin to see results if you are ready to move ahead and resolve things. And so some people quit smoking after 2 sessions. It depends where they're at, but the screening process is important because you want to help them identify, what do you really want in your life? And if you want it, then there's all these tools. And I would say that this is an empowerment process. So what happens is, even if somebody comes in to do a session with me, part of what is done is, how do you maintain so that you are empowered and you can continue ahead? So I would say self-hypnosis is the absolute goal. And that when someone is there to facilitate, on occasion, they facilitate the process, but you are given tools to continue on your own, so that if anything does happen in the future to re-trigger, you know how to bring yourself back and restore yourself to the beliefs that you would have for yourself. I did have somebody here as well to share their experience, but she's sleeping. I'll give her just a minute. So I want to share a few more things about the mind, and then if she would like, she can come and share her experience about her job performance, because performance competition is also something that can be very favorably impacted by hypnosis and self-hypnosis. Did I answer that question, all the parts of it? The only other thing that I would add to that question about whether people can be hypnotized or not is that some people more naturally go to a trance state. In fact, some people seem to live there almost in trance state. And I'm laughing, but it's also true. You're creative, highly imaginative individuals. A lot of these people can quite easily go into trance, and they're off in their head and things like that. And they can also be highly suggestible individuals. The younger the age, so children are highly suggestible. So let's talk about why. Let's talk about why this is. So the first thing I talked about is conscious thinking and just paying attention to what your thought processes are. And it's kind of fun to watch people. I pay attention to what people say, because what they're saying, it has a lot to do with their thought processes. Daydreamers, yes. Yes. Daydreamers, absolutely. And I was at the gym, and I was just listening to these women talking, and one woman put her bag down in a lower locker. Okay, so the bag's just in a lower locker, but she was saying, oh, I'm not very smart. I put it in a lower locker, and it was difficult for her to open the locker. So she was sitting there talking about how she wasn't very smart. And then I listened to some other people in the locker room and their conversations, how they were all talking about how they weren't very smart. And so the first thing to add to your conscious thinking, we have conscious thinking. Pay attention to what's coming out of your mouth. Pay attention to the thoughts that are in your head, the language that you speak. So you have thoughts in your head, notice your thoughts, and then the language that you speak. Language is law, is something that you could remember. What you say is your personal law, and you are directing your subconscious mind with your words. So the individual that is saying, I just can't lose weight, I can't lose weight. Well, they're sitting there directing their subconscious mind, telling the subconscious mind that they cannot lose weight. And the subconscious mind will take things very literally. So how you speak is taken literally. The subconscious mind doesn't judge, it just receives the information. And you could think of it as a genie in the bottle. It will do whatever it can to make it happen. And so there's going to be 3 words that I want you guys to work on eliminating from your vocabulary in this process of, again, bringing into your life the things that you want. And the first word is can't. Can't. Can't means I won't. Can't means I won't. And in our home, we kind of have fun with this because we all help each other stay on track. And so what you cannot do, I can't make money doing the things that I love. What you cannot do, your subconscious mind is going to work to bring about. I can't understand technology. I can't, you could go on. And really what you're doing is you're directing your subconscious mind. So if there's something that you want to do yourself a favor and take that word out. Just take it out. Try is another word that creates double-mindedness. So try, what is try? Try is basically planning for failure in advance. I will try to do it. How do you try to do something? Try to stand up from your chair. Try. Don't stand up, but just try to stand up. So you're caught between seated and standing, which again puts do or don't. There is no try. Yoda, there you go. So Yoda was trying to hypnotize us. But in a very literal sense, it's putting the mind in a double bind. If I want to lose weight and I'm going to try, can you see that there's this space here? There's this incongruence that's happening. So try is another word to take out of your repertoire. Now, if there's something that you really don't want to do, I guess go ahead and say that you can't do it. You know, but I can't be unkind. The third one is I don't know. I don't know, which can also become a way for the subconscious mind to dodge out of things, create excuses. So I would suggest that you say, I don't know yet, that you give yourself the opportunity for your learning to be continual and ongoing, which it is, because you can find out, because you can ask somebody or read or study or learn. So again, I don't know, directed back to your subconscious mind, is a way that people can find themselves stuck. So we talked about conscious thinking, and we've talked about language. The next thing that I would like to tell you about is called the critical, except that we learn something new every day. There you go. I learn something new every day. My mind is ever expanding and growing. Knowledge is my power. So these are statements that directed to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is going to work on bringing this about. Thank you, by the way, for that comment. I'm enjoying your guys' comments. I'm checking my sheet to make sure that this is a massive topic, but make sure that I'm saying the things that I would have you leave with tonight. So let's talk about the critical factor filter. You have your conscious thinking, logical, analyzing, planning mind in the front, which is why there is so much power when we live in the conscious mind. But I'm going to say that all parts of your mind are useful, and that as you learn about them and you increase your awareness, then you can intentionally move into different parts of your mind. Like the artist, what an amazing ability to be able to move into that creative space of their mind when they want, to be able to create new works, new ideas, paintings, whatever it is that they're trying to establish. But then when they need to be in their logical thinking, critical mind, that they're there. So let's talk about the critical factor filter. You've got your front logical thinking mind, and then imagine the back of your mind has your subconscious. There's a barrier in between. This is the theory of the mind. Really powerful stuff, though, and a lot of programs that have to do with empowerment and, you know, helping people in business, etc. They might use different words, but there's similar principles lining up here. There's a critical factor filter, and that is where you have your power. You can decide what you're going to allow through this barrier. It is a gateway, it is a door, and you are the one that has the power to open the door or to shut it if you're doing that intentionally. So the critical factor filter, this is the other thing that you can do for yourself, is when a thought comes along, oh, people don't like me, I'm not a good speaker. When these thoughts pop up into the head, then that is your right and your ability to accept it or reject it. And there's nothing in between. You either accept it and you let it through the filter as truth, or you reject it and it is false. So there's not an in-between ground as far as what you're letting into your mind. It's already there. It's kind of like the try. So if you allow it in, people don't like me, I'm not lovable, I'm not smart, that went into the subconscious. But you have the ability to reject it with your conscious mind and just send it out and not entertain it. So any questions on that? We're going to jump in one more level into the subconscious mind. Once you let it into the filter, so once you open that gate, there's different parts of your subconscious mind. They're called your emotions, and I'll explain this. Your emotions. They're also your imaginations and your memories. So these are all on the other side of the filter. And so have you known people that just seem to live in their emotions? They're living in their emotions. And how does that check in with the conscious present? Maybe not so much. Are there things that they're not seeing or noticing because they are in their emotions? So this is actually in the back of the mind. It don't work. Very difficult, right? Imaginations, people that live in their imaginations. Let's talk about phobias. I know an individual that has...
Vicki, sorry, you have about 5 minutes left.
Wow! Okay, woo, we're gonna kick it up here. So imaginations, the phobias, they're seeing germs everywhere. They don't want to touch the doorknobs because the bugs are crawling all over. So again, they're living in their imaginations. The last part is your memories. And so when we're living back in our memories, again, we are not in the present. And none of these are bad. These are not bad things. Memories, imaginations, and emotions can all work in our favor. But understanding them and how to access these in the mind is key. So what I want to say is I want to add to the model of behavior that we have thoughts, and then we have emotions that come from the thoughts. But the emotions are validated by memories and imaginations, and they can be strengthened and become more powerful because of the imagination and because of the memories that we retrieve, because your subconscious wants to be right. What you've spoken is law, or what the belief is, what the predominant beliefs are is law, and it will search ways to validate this. So your imaginations, your memories and emotions can build each other. And the more imagination and the more memories that are there that seem to validate and justify can amp up the emotions even more and consequently amp up the behaviors. All right. So that's kind of a mouthful, but hopefully insightful about how all of this works together. My message is that we can use our imagination, we can use our words, our memories in our favor, and we can create memories and continue to build this process again of programming the mind in the way that we would have it. Any questions on that?
I just have a question. You say that we can create the memories that we want. Does that mean we go back and kind of adjust the meaning of memories, or are you talking about moving forward with the intention to create the memories that are positive?
Both. Yep. And let me bring our little guest here. She's going to share a little bit of her experience about when she went into trance, and she's done, just a few sessions and was struggling with feeling like she was being successful on the job. So do you want to come and share really quick? Is that all right with everybody?
Totally.
Okay. Totally. Here we go. Okay. So they'll see you there.
Okay.
So
all right. Hello, Rebecca.
Beautiful. I'm so glad to see you.
Glad to see you too.
This is Chriselle Hamilton, by the way.
I'm Chriselle Hamilton. The experience I was going to share is that I work for the government. I work for the state, and it's a very difficult job. It has a lot. The manual is 10,000 pages. So when you take notes or when you are trying to resolve a case, you have to be very specific. You have to be very detailed. And so I had, I get errors, minor errors, nothing that is major, but still it counts against you. And when somebody tells you, you know, you misspelled a name or you didn't get the address, it kind of dings you. You feel, oh, I should have thought of that. Oh, I'm not very smart in this job. And so I would get moments where I just panicked, that I felt maybe this job is not for me. Maybe I can't succeed. And so I'm thinking negatively. So when I talked, to make a long story short, when I had some sessions with Nicole, I actually realized how negative I was. And so we started to make affirmations. I've done this job for nearly 8 years. I do have knowledge in this job. I know where to find information in this 10,000 manuals. And I also have a team of friends that I can go to if something is not clear. And so I just, anytime a situation would come up where I thought, I'm not going to be able to do this, I would just take a deep breath, think positive. I have knowledge in this job. I've done it for 8 years. And recently, I've done this for 2 weeks now. My calls doubled. I've had no errors. It's been great.
And tell them a little bit about the trance work. What was one of the predominant beliefs that you had that we were able to access from childhood that was impacting the work?
Well, part of the things were that I come from a broken home, and so I never had a stable home. It was this babysitter to the next babysitter to, I had probably in the first 11 years of my life, maybe about 9 people that I would spend time with. Very rarely saw my mother. And to them, my feelings were that I wasn't wanted in that home, almost like I didn't exist. Nobody would ever talk to me. Nobody would ever treat me like a parent, advise me, or anything like that. And so I always felt this rejection, this loneliness, like I wasn't there, like I wasn't very smart. And so things that kind of stem back to my childhood.
Thank you.
Okay.
Whoop, whoop. Thanks, Chriselle.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and try it out, but you know, she didn't realize that her feeling of loneliness as a kiddo was actually affecting her job performance. And so putting all the good things in is part of the process, but then there was a major removal of a negative predominant thought belief, because sometimes what can happen if you feel stuck is that the predominant thought belief is still holding. And so the critical factor is rejecting what's coming in, if that makes sense, because there's a part of the self that's saying, that's not true because I'm still holding this truth, if that makes sense. And it was kind of cool. We worked on, we did some work for her eyes, and some of the things that she saw as a young child. This is always so fascinating to me how it works out, but there was things that she saw as a young child that really affected her, caused her to not want to look forward to the future, I guess. And so as we did some of that work, she literally had more clarity in her eyes, which is not an uncommon finding in the hypnotherapy again. So it can be very literal. The subconscious is literal. Feelings of loneliness as a child affect emotions and self-worth. Absolutely, they do. You know, children have a wide open critical factor, is what I'll say. So what's coming in is coming in as truth and literal. So I can't believe that we're going to be out of time. Oh my goodness. I do want to wrap up, but I want to leave a little bit just at the end if anybody wants to ask any questions. But what can I do? Again, I can think consciously. What can I do for myself? I can just begin to create awareness of my thought processes. Just watch what's happening. Pay attention. And then be aware of your language and allow yourself to alter the language. The next thing you can do is use your imaginations and your words in your favor. You can say affirmations. You can visualize things. If you want to put up a picture of something, put these things into your mind, the good things that you would have. And beyond that, if you would like, further work, someone to facilitate, then you can also feel free to contact me if you feel like there's some deep beliefs that you would like to have some assistance in accessing and removing. And if you remind me that you were on this call, I have specials for everybody that would like. And so some of it does include some free work, but I don't want to get into it over the phone. Just contact me if you are interested. And if you just have any more questions about how to be empowered in your life, please hit me up. I'm going to be starting a Facebook group specifically on mind management and mind empowerment. So any last questions? I hope that's a lot of information, but I hope that it made sense, that it gave a new context in which to look at your mind and to understand it.
And so, Nikki, thank you so much for just kind of sharing with us, like a framework of how we can change, begin to be mindful and change what we're thinking. How can people get a hold of you? How would you like us to reach out?
Okay. Well, I think a lot of the people that are on the call are on Facebook. So you can definitely hit me up on Facebook. Also, my email is retreatintolife, like a retreat, retreatintolife@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Or retreatintolife.com is the website. So you can reach out to me on Facebook. You can send me an email. I do accept calls as well. It's on my website, so I'm going to go ahead and share it because it's very frustrating to me when I want to reach a human and I have to go via machine. I just like to talk to people, and to be able to feel like, oh my gosh, they'll speak to me. I absolutely will speak to you. 208-403-7221. I feel like individuals in the world today are so powerful, just powerful, beautiful people, and that sometimes we don't realize the power that we have, or we don't know how to access it. We feel like we don't know how to access it. And so I want to put that out there, that the ability for the human person, the individual, to be resilient, to change, to develop, to evolve, to grow, is profound. In all the work that I've done, I've seen many, 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 countless examples of how people change, how they move into the space in their life that they would have, how they overcome any challenges. And also in my own life, have seen it, felt it, lived it, or I could not share it. So thank you so much. Any final questions?
So we'll open it up for a few minutes for question and answer, and then I'll end the recording. And if there's any more questions that you want to ask after the recording, I'll give you space for a few minutes to ask Nikki in a non-public-ish setting.
Okay. I'm trying to think of other fun stories while you guys have a minute. I really do love this work. This one was very interesting. There was a lady that, she's in her more mature years, I would say 60s, and she had this choking sensation sometimes in her throat. She just have a hard time swallowing, and was just curious about that. She wanted to explore that, why do I get that? And she said, I think eventually I'm going to die by choking, because this just happens to me. And so anyway, in the regression work, she actually went back to a memory. She thought it was maybe related to her mean brother. She had a brother that wasn't very kind to her. And what happened was she went back to a memory of actually her and her brother having fun and they were running around the farmyard, and there was a chicken. So this is an interesting example of how we can be sensitized by things that we observe. And so they were laughing and chasing the chicken in the farmyard. And her father came, and he actually cut off the head of the chicken right in front of her, right at the neck. And so, you know, this was her friend. It was really devastating to her as a child. Now, she wasn't thinking anything about the chicken, you know, in her later years, not at all. But with the head of her friend being cut off at the neck, somehow she had become sensitized to her own vulnerability, you know, at the neck, the head. And so she had actually internalized this, which later translated into these choking feelings around her neck. And it was interesting because actually most of her work ended up centering on her relationship with her father, which was very difficult. She had perceived that as cruelty from dad, and did have a difficult relationship with the father, where some of their interactions had seemed uncaring, unloving. And so even though the chicken was the sensitizing event, the emotions behind it actually had more to do with her father even than her brother. So it was very interesting. This is how, you know, we're not aware in the conscious mind of what's happening, but when we have this dialogue, the conscious mind with the subconscious, then we're able to make connections, and it's the truth. It's the truth that sets the individual free in their lives. So
Wow.
I guess we don't have any questions then, maybe. Did anything? Yeah, no. Thank you so much.
You're so
everyone.
Let me end the recording here, Nikki, just by saying thank you so much.